Have you ever wondered why Ireland spent centuries under England's boot, fighting rebellions and generally getting stomped on? How exactly did a proud island of warriors, poets and saints become England's subject? Let's dive in. First, let's rewind way back. Before England was even a thing, Ireland had been home to people for thousands of years. You see, after the Ice Age, hunter-gatherers wandered in, most likely through land bridges or on tiny boats. Were they Neanderthals? Maybe. Some archaeologists found bones that might suggest it, but evidence is patchy at best. So maybe some cavemen swung over for a bit, who knows. It would have been in small numbers though. Right, then came the Beaker people around 2500 BC. They were named that way because of the pottery that they carried around. It's a weird flex, but okay. After then came the Celts. Now, here's a fun fact. Celts did not call themselves Celts. The word Celt comes from the Greek phrase Keltoi, which basically means barbarian who lives northwest of here. In reality, they were a series of separate tribes. Yes, they shared similar languages, culture, religion, and were genetically related, but they never considered themselves a united people. All right, next question. Did the Romans ever set foot in Ireland? The short answer is no. The Romans looked at Ireland, or Hibernia as they called it, shrugged and said, too rainy. The Romans stuck to trading from a distance. What did they trade? Well, Ireland had gold, leather, copper, and slaves. Yep, good old history. But the Romans never formally invaded Ireland as they did the island of Great Britain. Around the 8th century, the Vikings entered the scene with their big bushy beards, even bigger axes, and an insatiable appetite for looting monasteries. Ireland was full of monasteries, and monasteries were full of gold. Sounds like a no-brainer to a Viking. Entire towns were sacked as the Vikings took gold, tools, and, oh god, not more slaves. But it's not all bad. Unlike the Romans, the Vikings did settle permanently in Ireland, building towns such as Dublin, Waterford, and Limerick. Alright, look, so far it's not been smooth sailing for the Irish, but history is not all sunshine and rainbows. But what happened next was arguably the worst thing to ever happen in the history of Ireland and its people. Ireland was about to encounter its worst ever enemy, England. In 1169, Irish King Dermot MacMurrough got booted off his throne and asked the English crown for help. The English, ever a kind people, obliged. In 1169, English King Henry II sent forces, mostly made up of Welsh mercenaries, over to help Ireland. But then, just 2 years later, Henry helped himself to a new kingdom by landing on the shores of Waterford with about 4,000 men, forcing many Irish kings and local lords to take the knee. So, in a move ironically similar to what the English had done under Vortigern in the 5th century, the Irish had invited their own invaders. Help us! We are defenseless and have no military. Yeah, real smart move, Ireland. Right, so initially English control in Ireland was only really on the east coast, around the areas of Dublin, in an area known as the Pale. England did make multiple efforts to expand during this time period, but they were either too busy fighting France or Scotland, or they were just outfought by the Irish. Basically, we got our asses kicked a few times. But at the same time, even when the Irish did win a battle or two, they never could remove the English completely. Full conquest seemed inevitable. Then came the Tudors. Henry VIII decided just being Lord of Ireland wasn't enough. He wanted to be king, and once he broke with the Catholic Church, Ireland became a big Catholic problem. Henry declared himself King of Ireland in 1541, kicking off a series of brutal conquest, rebellions, and crackdowns. Henry's daughter, Queen Elizabeth I, followed with more brutality, famously crushing rebellions and setting the stage for centuries of violence and resistance. In 1594, things escalated. The 9 Years' War began and ended in 603 with a crushing English victory, and all of Ireland was officially under English rule. Huge chunks of Irish land were conquered and settled by English and Scottish settlers, especially in Ulster. This was basically what the Vikings had done to the English. This was really when the seeds of resentment were truly planted for many Irish people. The English were seen as oppressors, an island of bullies throwing their weight around. But the English didn't just take the land. They systematically stripped rights away from the Irish Catholics. Oliver Cromwell committed genocide on the Irish people after they revolted in 1641, with some historians estimated 1 in every 4 Irish people died during Cromwell's reign, from war, famine, or disease. The penal laws in 1695 meant that Irish people couldn't own land, vote, or even practice Catholicism. Ireland became, in every practical sense, a colony. And yet, despite this, the Irish never stopped fighting back. In 1798, inspired by the French Revolution and led by Wolfe Tone, Ireland once again stood up to Great Britain. Yeah, it's now Great Britain. It's complicated, but basically England and Scotland became friends in 1707, kind of. Anyway, in the mid-19th century, there was a potato famine in Ireland, and 1 million people died as a result. But random, how is that England's fault? I mean, it's a famine. All right, obviously England did not cause a famine, but the Crown was exporting food from Ireland to sell for profits at the time. All right, so in 1921, Ireland officially gained independence from Britain during the War of Independence. The Irish Republican Army, led by Michael Collins, used guerrilla warfare. Oh, come on, that's just ridiculous. The fighting was brutal and widespread, with ambushes, assassinations, and reprisals. Eventually, the British government, worn down and under pressure, agreed to negotiate. This led to the Anglo-Irish Treaty in December 1921, which established the Irish Free State as a self-governing dominion within the British Empire. Except for Northern Ireland, but that's a whole video in itself, so we'll just leave it there. So yeah, that's how Ireland became England's subject. But then got their freedom, so it got a happy ending after all, kind of. Right, so if you've enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe, and leave a comment. What are your thoughts on the history of Ireland? Let me know. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.